Hello, my name is Dean Atta. I am a poet and author. I have written 2 books. One is a poetry collection called I Am Nobody's Nigger, and most recently a young adult novel called The Black Flamingo, which is a novel in verse, a series of poems telling a story. And I have been writing for over 10 years now, and alongside writing and publishing, I do a lot of work with young people visiting schools and universities and different community settings doing poetry workshops and performances. I began writing poetry as a very personal thing. I write poetry for myself first and foremost, to figure out things about my identity, my thoughts and feelings on different matters. I write about race, about sexuality, about kind of love, friendship, family, all the things that matter to me. I think some of my work is political, but not necessarily with a big P, but political with a small p, you know, the politics in everyday life. Myself, I am mixed race. My family is from Cyprus and from Jamaica, but I've grown up in London, and I think being born in Britain and raised there, but with 2 cultures that have, you know, brought me up as well, I think that has all infused into my writing. So you'll find in my poetry there may be some Greek, there may be some Jamaican patois, there may be London slang as well as standard English. So my writing is infused by all those things, and many different people that I've encountered. You know, I have friends and work with people from all around the world, and so I feel like I have a kind of global perspective in the way I approach my writing. But you know, I have an education and, you know, an upbringing in Britain, so I guess that is also very much part of what I represent and what I write. So I think it's important to, you know, share what you're reading, and also, you know, if you feel confident to do so, share what you're writing. So you can do that with people in person by joining writing groups, or, you know, online by posting on a blog or any of the social media that you have access to now. I have friends who have made a big impression by putting their poetry on Instagram, and so that's one platform for you to maybe share your work, and you know, you never know who you could reach. Anywhere in the world people could read what you're writing. So there's many routes, and traditional publishing is just one, but you know, putting your work online is really powerful way to reach people, as well as self-publishing your work. There's no right way or wrong way, it's just you got to find your way. If I wasn't a poet, I'd probably be a politician, or like a journalist or a TV presenter, but I'd love, you know, interacting with people, so I'd love to do a job where I was meeting people and representing people somehow. So whether it was a journalist and I was interviewing people and telling their story, or a politician where I had to represent my constituents and do what was in the best interest of them, or a teacher. I've always, you know, loved the education element of poetry when I get to go into schools and do workshops, and I think I really admire, you know, those that do education full-time. I think it's an amazing job. So if I wasn't a poet, I'd be a teacher, a politician, or a journalist. I can't pick one thing. I feel I can't believe I'm here. It's really wonderful being in India. It's really been so interesting to realize how huge the country is and how different it is from state to state. The rich history, and knowing that the country, you know, has, you know, as many countries around the world, been influenced by Britain. It's quite interesting to see what effects that's had. You know, I can't put my finger on it exactly, but I know it from my own family's heritage. You know, Cyprus and Jamaica have also had influence from Britain, so it's just so interesting to see you can travel so far but see similarities across the board. I think one thing that's been particularly interesting for this trip because I follow LGBT issues in the news, and seeing the laws change here for gay people has been really inspiring. It's about time, I think, but also everything happens in its own time. So speaking and meeting with LGBT people in India and hearing what it's like to be lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender here has been really enlightening, because it's slightly different to how it is in the UK. But there's a solidarity between people from the LGBT community, no matter what country you're in. So it's been good for me to see that, and that's something that's really important to me and what I write about. I try and represent those issues in a way that anyone could read it and understand it, even if they're not LGBT. They can see the humanity and the kind of personal aspect of it. Everyone can relate to a time in their life, maybe when they felt like they were different or treated like an outsider, and I think it's time to bring everyone into the fold and see that we're not so different. So that's been interesting, seeing the similarities between communities and countries.